President Biden has called for creation of a climate conservation corps. And last year, now this year, you've introduced the 21st Century Conservation Corps Act. Here now in the 2020s, why are we looking back to the original CCC from the 1930s?
Because I think the fundamental core of the CCC was so incredibly successful. And I know that at a time when I was sort of growing up in natural resources policy, I got a chance to get to know many of the people who had served in the CCC. And decades later, they were so enthusiastic about what it meant for their life. And they went in many directions from there, but they really credited it with creating their adult selves in many cases, and really impacting not just their ability to learn something in the outdoors and be able to contribute, but how much it shaped their character throughout the entirety of the rest of their life. And they would oftentimes wear a CCC belt buckle just as sort of a signal to other CCC members. And I think taking that core and broadening it to the kind of diverse, modern, population that we have now, making it accessible to people from all backgrounds, I think has an enormous amount of attractiveness to it.
I love that belt buckle. It's like a bat signal to one another.
Exactly.
So if this bill were passed, how would it benefit New Mexico and New Mexicans, do you think?
So in terms of benefiting New Mexico, I think one of the things it would do is really scale up what we all agree needs to happen, which is we need more people, not behind a desk, but out in the field, having an impact on landscapes, making them more resilient, making them more climate resilient, doing the work that makes these landscapes more functional in the way that they were a few hundred years ago, more responsive to fire, less prone to large catastrophic fires, restoring rangeland, working on all of these things that require an enormous amount of labor. And at a time when on the other side of the equation, we have a lot of young people who, and a labor force that, because of the last year of the pandemic, would, I think in many cases, really welcome the opportunity to work in those kinds of environments and to put people back into rural communities that really need these projects to maximize the health of their surrounding landscapes.
Can you talk a little bit about this intersection between jobs, COVID, and climate change?
You know, in some ways, COVID showed us that I think we saw a lot of wishful thinking in terms of policy over the course of the last year. Oh, if we just ignore this thing, it'll go away. We don't have to follow the science. And all of that contributed to an enormous public health impact, but also an enormous economic impact in many families. And I think the connection there is that the science is the science. And yes, we can beat COVID, but it requires an enormous amount of marshaling of resources, cooperation, the utilization of science for the vaccine, for therapeutics, and scale that up many times over and slow it down a little bit, and you have climate change. You know, it is one of those big realities out there that whether we want to believe in it or not is really irrelevant. The question is, what are we going to do about it? And how are we going to make sure that our kids and grandkids can actually inherit the kind of climate, the kind of planet that we all grew up and took for granted?
So I love seeing CCC projects around New Mexico. I get excited. The buildings at Bandelier, the lodge at Hyde Memorial State Park. I'm curious if you have a sense of, maybe what this 21st century CCC could look like around the state.
Well, I think it would leave its footprint in a number of different ways. Some that wouldn't be obvious 100 years from now. It would just look like a healthier, more productive landscape. And some that would be physical. You know, when I worked for AmeriCorps as a volunteer in the 1990s, you know, we built some of the enclosures that then housed the Mexican Wolf Recovery Project and the breeding project that got that off the ground. You go back to the original CCC, and like you say, you can still see those fingerprints all over the state. So in terms of, you know, I could see these CCC core members implementing much of the Great American Outdoors Act, working with the Bureau of Land Management on the recreational infrastructure at some place like Rio Grande del Norte National Monument, or repairing a campground at White Sands National Park. And I think decades later, you would still see that physical impact. Those are very enduring things that help really hold up our economy for decades after they're originally created.
So President Biden has spoken quite a bit about climate change, the executive order early on in his administration is pretty comprehensive. I'm curious if we're going to see the Senate moving on climate change legislation this year.
That's certainly my intention, and my hope is that we will rapidly see, after we get through the coronavirus response that we're currently working on, a pivot to a sort of Build Back Better infrastructure climate legislation that sets the stage for the next few decades, that really gets us to a place of leadership once again in the world, and takes advantage of the opportunities we have to put people to work in this transition, to make sure that, one, we're taking care of workers who have done things a different way with traditional fuels, and at the same time creating those economic opportunities for everything else that we're going to have to work on to make this transition possible. When you think about the fact that, you know, we really need to be reducing emissions by 15% a year to be able to meet these targets.
Well, thank you, Senator. Good luck in the session this year. We hope that you stay safe.
Thank you so much.